Good morning everybody. My name is Joe Zachariah and I am going to speak on the topic Decoding Indian General Elections 2009. I'll be speaking about the obstacles, the issues and the overwhelming outcome to Indian general elections held earlier this year. Elections are held every 5 years in India to elect a new Prime Minister. This year the elections were held for 543 parliamentary constituencies. Due to the sheer size of the electorate, this was easily the largest exercise in democracy all over the world. Elections are held by the Election Commission. Since 1950, it has been functioning as an independent body. It enjoys complete autonomy and is insulated from any kind of executive interference. The massive scale of operation of these elections can be gauged by the fact that the electorate of 740 million is larger than the size of the European Union and the United States combined. Of this, about 57% turned out to vote on polling day. Due to the staggering number of voters, it was decided to hold the elections in a phased approach. Although it would have been possible to hold all of it in one go, the lack of those many number of security personnel meant that we had to use a phased approach. It is mandatory in India that all contesting parties have an election symbol. This is due to the fact that a vast majority of voters are illiterate and they will be able to identify a party only by its election symbol. Since the terrorist attacks in Mumbai in November 2008, it was one of the foremost issues on the voters' minds. That, along with the issue of recession, there was a drop in India's growth rate, and this meant that voters were voting for a stable government to make strong policy decisions. Rural India had a different set of issues. More than 70% of India are farmers, hence agricultural policies was one of the foremost issues in their mind. Also, interiors of India were rocked by many nationalist and separatist attacks. That was another issue on the voters' mind. One other important highlight in this election was that it was completely digitized and electronic voting machines or EVMs were used to record and sum up the votes. Over 1 million EVMs were required across the country for this exercise. Let's look at the advantages of using EVMs. It is very simple to use. It can be used even by illiterates. The results can be declared almost instantaneously since there are no manual counting efforts. Next, let's look at the subunits of an EVM. It consists of a control unit which resides with the polling officer who is in charge of a particular polling booth, a ballot unit which is where the voter actually casts his vote, and an interconnecting cable between the two. Next, let's look at the ballot unit. Pay particular attention to the ready lamp, the candidates button and the candidates lamp. The ballot paper screen that you see is manually filled in with the contesting candidates' details and it can be easily disposed of after that particular election. Next, let's look at the control unit. Pay particular attention to the ballot button which we'll talk of during the polling process. The cap over the results section can be removed during the counting process and the total button can be hit to display the votes recorded against each candidate. In the polling process, the voter is first identified from a list of voting records. The presiding officer then presses the ballot button which indicates to the ballot unit that a vote is about to be cast. The voter then proceeds to the polling cubicle and presses the key against the candidate of his choice. A confirmation is sent to the voter that a vote has been recorded, to the polling officer that a vote has been cast, and the polling officer then releases the vote by hitting the ballot button again on his control unit. After all the 5 phases of elections were done on 13th May, counting was scheduled for 16th May. For this exercise, the over 1 million plus EVMs were localized to 1,000 centers and counting began 8 AM sharp. The results were declared for all constituencies by late afternoon on the same day. India follows the Commonwealth policy of first past the post to declare its winners. This means that any candidate who gets the maximum number of votes, even if the winning margin is as slim as only one, is declared as a winner. Next, let's look at the poll outcome. As you can see, the United Progressive Alliance altogether won 262 seats, which was just 12 seats short of the magic figure of 274 required to form the next government at the center. Like-minded parties joined in to bridge that gap. Here are the factors for the UPA win as collated in the Indian National Hindu. Some of the factors are focus on good governance, focus on youth factor, clean image of the incumbent Prime Minister, etc. Finally, the UPA coalition was invited to form the next government at the center and thus ended elections 2009. In spite of the sheer numbers and the security constraints, the elections were vastly successfully held with a resoundingly clear mandate. Thank you.